I want to talk to the women in the room right now. Did you know that we're part of the problem? We have been complaining for quite some time, but I noticed some of you, as I was walking in, were looking at my outfit. I was looking at yours too. We tend to talk about each other. We don't lift each other up, and we spend a lot of time being catty. We spend a lot of time being somewhat phony and pretentious, and actually we're really doing ourselves a disservice. So I started to do some introspection and thinking about what we can do to actually improve the way that we are treated, the way that we present ourselves, and how we build our own confidence. And one of the things that we need to do, which is something that men do, is we need to stop bringing each other down. And that is something that's very important for us to do, because we have to validate each other, because we're not going to get it from anyone else. So, some coughs there. Then there's another thing that we do as women. We actually have a tendency to act as martyrs and just think that we have so much to do, but we don't accept help from other people. I saw a post from a Facebook friend the other day, and this young man actually said that he was holding the door open for a young lady at Macy's, and she actually said, "I don't need a man to open the door for me." And so he was just kind of taken aback. He actually posted it, and I hope that this young man doesn't stop that nicety. I mean, actually, you should hold the door open for anybody. It doesn't need to be male or female. But he was actually so put off by this reaction that this young lady had. And we tend to do that a lot. I know I tend to do that a lot. Tend to be overburdened in what we're doing and just feel like, oh, we don't need any help. No, I have it, I got it. As if we're going to get some kind of present for being the most oppressed or something. Oppressing ourselves is quite a thing, huh? So, it really is important for us to show to really accept that help sometimes that comes in the strangest of places. And I think about sometimes the image that I may present to even my granddaughter, my young granddaughter, that sees me trying to act like I can do everything and be everything to everybody without the help of anybody. But my generation, those of you that are here that remember what we were taught, I was taught that the best thing, the smartest thing a woman can do is to learn to not need a man. That's what I was taught. So how do we impact young people when they see us doing the things that we do, or acting that we're so independent, or we can't do this, or we can't do that, we don't. So it's a very challenging thing for us as parents to present ourselves in the right place. And I don't want my granddaughter to think that men are incidental or not needed, and that she understands the roles of both genders in parenting, which is very important. I saw a recent article in the Washington Post that was about this whole new notion of leaning in, but around affirmative action for women. See, another thing that we do as women is we expect to win the lottery, but we didn't play. Let me explain. So actually, now in Germany, actually in Norway and France, there are these rules that have been put in place that allow for 30% of the large boards, the large public boards, have to be women. So they've put together this quota of 30% that must be women. The reason they've done that is because the studies have shown, and this was, the last one was being done in Germany, although in Norway they did that back in 2003. Studies have shown that women will not apply to positions unless they're competing against each other. See, if a position is open out there and there's no special quota, women don't apply. So you're expecting to win, but yet you didn't even play. So when I think about myself, even as CEO of the DC building industry, where you guys thought, oh God, what is she going to talk about? Bore us to death. But anyway, this is a trade association for real estate in the District of Columbia, in which 95% of those that are in this industry are, you guessed it, men. Same as the 5% of women that are CEOs in Fortune 500 companies, we have that same mix. So what these studies are showing is that if we do not put quotas in place, women won't apply. If there's a quota of 30%, actually women think they can beat out other women, but they don't think they'll fare well in the general population. I would have not applied for my position of CEO of the building industry had it not been for a friend of mine that actually knew me, happened to be male, and knew my capabilities and asked me to actually apply, and then I did it. Otherwise, I never would have applied. So we don't even play. We don't even step up. We actually feel that we can compete against each other, but not against men. Men, on the other hand, are overconfident about their abilities. I'm not surprising anybody with that. And they actually feel that they can apply to jobs for which they are underqualified. And this is factual and based in research. I'm not just making it up. The other thing that I found is very interesting is, again, I mentioned the statistics. You know that only 20% of the members of Congress are female. We have 2 potential individuals that may be presidents of the United States, so we're finding ourselves in a slightly better place there. In Canada, actually, they just recently announced that 15 of the members of the cabinet would be women and 15 would be men. And when asked why he was doing this, the president said, because it's 2015. So he didn't need any other rationale for actually having a 50-50 split of gender in his board and his cabinet. So the other thing that we need to do is we need to be authentic, to be ourselves. And there was an interesting study that was in the Harvard Business Review last month that showed that men that had daughters, CEOs that are men that had daughters, actually perform better. They have higher levels of corporate social responsibility. So they're actually spending more in their community. They're putting out better products and more service-oriented, socially oriented products if they actually have a daughter. It did not hold true that if they had sons, there was any difference, or they had wives or girlfriends or any other thing, but actually daughters. So we know that there is something there's special that we as women have to add into the equation. If we show up, if we play, if we actually take a chance, if we are part of the change that we want to see in the world, we really do make a difference. But before we actually beat ourselves up too much, I think there's a lot of hope. So I wanted to just take a step into what I think is part of the solution, and this is around millennials. You've heard a lot about these millennials. We call them the maligned millennials. I see some of you. Look at all these attributes, negative attributes of what they're being called. My goodness, no wonder many individuals, even in this room, I suspect, don't even want to be seen as millennials because they feel like they'll be maligned. Well, I actually recently completed a doctoral study on millennials, and I found that the factors that motivate millennials in the public sector, which is what I was studying, are actually the same for both men and for women. And this is actually confirmed by a study that Deloitte just recently put out that's around debunking the myths around millennials. We've put a lot of stuff on millennials that they're not really deserving of. And the good news is that millennials are different. They are different in the way that they feel about work and family. They want to balance work and family. In my generation, you never hear somebody say, the man, to say the father, to say, I have to leave now so I can go pick up the child from school. I mean, that was always, if your child is sick, it's always the mother that has to come up with some kind of brilliant solution to try to figure out childcare. Well, now we're seeing millennials care, both male and female equally, care about balancing work and family, which is really critically important. And again, was not something that was heard of or even thought of in prior generations. In fact, millennials are asking for that kind of work-life balance in their jobs. They're actually asking employers to give them that flexibility, so they're blending the workplace. They're asking for work-life balance. They're asking for telecommuting, for childcare, for a lot of the different perks that only women used to ask for before. They're asking about the health care plan and things that traditionally women would only ask for and not men. So there's a big change in the way millennials are seeing the world. They are shunning the labels that my generation and generations before me have put on individuals. They are shunning these stereotypes that we have around gender. So the challenge that I have for all of you today is for those of you that are my age or older, maybe even a little bit younger, is to either step up or move out of the way. Because millennials and Generation Z and generations to come, they have a better understanding of gender blurring and the fact that it's not just all black and white, and that there's a lot of room to actually provide input into raising our families. So I challenge you today to really take a look at what your part is in this dilemma, and to also be hopeful for the future and for what millennials and others have in store for us. Thank you very much.